Hello, guys. Hope you're having a good evening. I'm having a busy evening myself. Um, let's talk about the storm this weekend. If you have plans this weekend to stay at home and to hang out and to do nothing, those are really good plans to have. I wish those were my plans, but unfortunately, it's not in the cards for me. Yeah, we've got a big storm coming our way. Um, you know, no matter what happens with this thing, it's going to have a major impact in the tri-state. Starting later in the day Saturday, really ramping up Saturday night with the peak of it coming Sunday morning. And, well, anyway, let's get started. Let's talk about what's going on. Bring up my weather computer next to me. I thought that I would start this off tonight. I'm not going to stay on here too long because I really would like to go eat dinner tonight. But I thought I would start by looking at what are the biggest 2-day snowfalls in Cincinnati history. And you go back to February 4th and 5th in 98, we had 18.3 inches with that one. 1996, another one on January 6th and 7th, 14.4 inches. 1917 was a big one. 78 across 2 days, 11.3 inches. That was more wind that made for big drifts in the blizzard. And then February 17th and 18th in 1910, 11 inches. So, what our modeling has been showing for this one would rival some of these biggest 2-day snowfalls in Cincinnati history. And all the models have been, consistently showing that, which kind of blows my mind, to be honest. It's pretty extraordinary that they're showing that. So let's get started with, what we're talking here. Major travel impacts, no doubt about that. Whether you get 6 inches or whether you get a foot of snow out of this, both those scenarios are possible. There's going to be major travel impacts. Looks like it's going to start Saturday afternoon. I would say mid to late afternoon is our estimate of timing. Some of our models push that back slightly today. And then it kind of gets heavier Saturday night into Sunday morning, kind of peaking Sunday morning. It'll taper off late Sunday, probably into the evening hours sometime. Bitter cold Arctic air is also going to come along with this thing. So, this weekend we're going to have things closed down. And I'll tell you, even into Monday, we're going to have things potentially closed down with lingering impacts from this. You get a sense of the size of the storm system looking at where the winter weather alerts are tonight. In the pink, those are winter storm warnings. They stretch all the way from New Mexico into Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee tonight. And then the winter storm watches, they go all the way into like Boston and New York City tonight. Where you see the dark purple there south of Memphis, those are ice storm warnings. Some areas down there could be looking at an inch of ice accumulation, freezing rain, the liquid rain that falls and freezes on contact with objects and coats them. And that could be, catastrophic to the power grid in some areas down there. Thankfully, we're not going to have to deal with freezing rain here. But we may get some sleet or ice pellets. I want you to know the difference between the two. The freezing rain is the liquid stuff that falls like rain and then freezes on contact. Sleet are the ice pellets that fall out of the sky. And some of our counties, especially southeast of Cincinnati, could see some sleet mix in with this eventually. That's typically how it happens with these storms. All right, coming in closer, we are still under the winter storm watch for the Cincinnati area. To our south, Louisville to Lexington, the rest of Kentucky there, they've issued the winter storm warnings. We will go under a winter storm warning later tonight, probably when you're sleeping. So that will happen. The entire area will go under a winter storm warning later tonight. So no doubt about that. For now, it's just the watch. It was expanded early this morning, as we thought, to include everyone in the tri-state. So there it is. This weekend, snow's going to start Saturday afternoon. So, if you got stuff to do, get it done, say, before 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Maybe you get a little extra time. Maybe a little bit of light snow starts there early in the afternoon. Roads aren't terribly bad at first, but I would say shoot to get everything done by early on Saturday afternoon. So be an early riser Saturday, get what you need to do done, because by Saturday night conditions go downhill. And the worst of this will likely come Sunday morning, but the roads begin to turn messy Saturday night. All right, right now the big blue H is over us. High pressure, it's pretty quiet around here, but there's a cold front making its way through Missouri into Illinois now. This is the first piece of what is going to be a complex weather puzzle setting up. That front represents the leading edge of Arctic air that is going to spill down over the Ohio Valley starting tomorrow. So tomorrow, early in the morning, we're in the low 20s, and then we fall into the teens during the day. That Arctic air arrives, firmly establishes itself, and then we watch low pressure. Big upper level low spinning off the coast of California right now. You know, yesterday they had the hurricane hunters out, past couple of days, in fact, out in the Pacific Ocean, sampling the atmosphere out there to get more data to feed into the numerical models about this storm. So this is going to be one piece of the puzzle. There's another piece of the puzzle, though, that's coming from the Arctic that'll be moving south to kind of come together with all of this sort of phasing over us. So as that low moves off to the east, what happens is it takes moisture from the Gulf and it throws it up over top of the cold air that we have in place here in the Ohio Valley. The end result is going to be snow developing here. Now, there's a couple of interesting things that may happen here. A secondary low may begin to form off the Carolina coast. And what will happen is energy will transfer from that first low to the second low. And so how quickly that happens really is going to determine the finer details of the forecast. You know, how much snow you get in your backyard and how much snow, you know, they get in their backyard 20 miles south of you and 20 miles north of you. So how this all happens really is going to determine exactly how much we see. I don't think it's going to have any difference on the impacts that we see, but that low kind of takes over. The coastal low, we call this a Miller type B low. It takes over, energy transfers to it, and then everything books to the east here, it looks like by Sunday evening. So that's what we're going to have to keep our eyes on. Here's some of our modeling with the snowfall and how it arrives. So again, you're good on Saturday morning. No issues as you step out the door there on Saturday. And then by the early afternoon, the snow begins. So I'm going to stop it at 1 o'clock. And, you know, one of the things here on how quickly the snow begins is how quickly the atmosphere becomes saturated. So we're going to be dealing with very cold temperatures and a very dry atmosphere at the surface. The moisture comes aloft and has to saturate the entire surface, all the way down to the surface, has to saturate the atmosphere. So sometimes that process takes a while. So if you have your Weather Authority app on Saturday, you're probably going to see snow on your radar on the Weather Authority app before it's actually reaching the ground, because the atmosphere has to saturate. So that process is going to take a while. Probably won't happen until the middle of the afternoon, early to mid-afternoon. Probably looks like after 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So by 3, 4 o'clock, we begin to see light snow developing. Now, at first, this is very light snow. It is not heavy at all, but it's light snow. Once the atmosphere saturates, it's like a snow globe. It'll come down everywhere, but it's going to be fairly light early on. The later we get into the evening, the heavier that snow is going to be. So it really begins to pick up after dark, but it's probably not till after 10 or 11 o'clock, maybe even after midnight, that it really begins to pick up. And you can see the darker blues developing there early Sunday morning. Generally, it looks like between 4 and 8 o'clock Sunday morning could bring some of the heaviest snowfall. We could see some snowfall rates of 1 inch or 2 per hour into early Sunday morning. And that's the time period, really, when we see the peak or the worst of the storm. Could there be a flash of lightning, a rumble of thunder? Yeah, that's possible. You can see some of the darker colors there by Sunday. That's 7 o'clock in the morning. The other thing we're going to watch, you see the pink shadings down over central Kentucky. I think some of that could potentially get up into our southern and eastern counties. And so that is sleet or ice pellets that may mix in with the snow. And our higher resolution modeling, once we get into some of that here, as we get a little closer, I think it's going to show more of that sleet, what we call sleet contamination, where you don't get straight snow, you get sleet mixing in. And so, that's horrible too. But it would limit snowfall amounts in the areas that do get some of that sleet contamination. So we're going to watch for that, especially southeast of Cincinnati. You can see by Sunday afternoon how some of that pink and even the green shoots up into West Virginia. This is going to be a tough forecast for those people out in West Virginia because they're going to get snow and then go to a mix and then, go back to snow eventually. So it's going to be complex there. I'm really concerned some of that may clip our southeast counties, so you may get some sleet down there, keeping the totals a little less down there maybe. But if it doesn't happen, there's going to be a lot of snow. You can see it continues through Sunday afternoon. That takes us through around 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon. And again, all of this model data we're looking at, we're so far out here. This is low resolution model data that we're dealing with. And then into the evening, it starts to move out. So after 7, 8 o'clock, snow starts to exit, tapering off. That's it for the snow. There will be some flurries that linger, but nothing else that is going to stick there. So snow amount chances. And, a lot of us want to see the map with how much snow are we going to have in this area and that area. Well, you got to understand, as these storms evolve, there's uncertainty as to how they set up and how much snow is going to fall. So I think my personal belief is this communicates a lot more information, a lot better information than what those maps do. I'm still going to show you a map, but I think this communicates much more than what the map does. So this is for Cincinnati proper, areas around the 275 loop. What are your chances for more than 4 inches of snow? 90% chance of that right now, based on the data we're looking at. What are your chances for more than a half foot, 6 inches of snow? A 70% chance of that now. What are your chances for more than 8 inches of snow? Right now, that's 50-50. It could go either way. Okay, so you kind of think of that maybe as a center point right now based on the data. But then you look beyond that and you say, wait, you tell me there's a chance at a foot. Yeah, a 30% chance at more than 10, a 20% chance at more than 12, and a 10% chance at more than 14 inches of snow, which again, those numbers would put it up there with some of the biggest snows that we have seen over a 2-day span in Cincinnati history. If that were to verify. There's a lot of modeling data that is showing those higher amounts. But the two big questions in our mind are, how much does that warm air aloft come in and give us some sleet that keeps the snow totals down a little bit? And how quickly does that transfer of energy occur from the our low to the low off the East Coast? And modeling how that happens is really complex. All right, so I hope that gives you an idea of what the range of possibilities are and what the most likely possibilities are for Cincinnati proper. Okay, so here's a look at some of our early estimates for snowfall. Now, you'll notice on this map, southeast of Cincinnati is where I've painted perhaps the chance for the bigger amounts. But if we get some sleet mixing in down there, then that would not be the case at all. So this is an early estimate. This is the first map that we've thrown out here. And I think, there's a good bet, for at least 6 or 7 inches for everyone in the tri-state. Could we see more than that? Absolutely. Absolutely. 10-inch amounts, not out of the question. 11-inch amounts, not out of the question. Someone certainly could see a foot of snow out of this. Depends on how it all sets up. But I mean, it's not going to make much difference if you get 10 inches or 11 inches or a foot. The impacts are still going to be much the same. So we'll continue to fine-tune this as new data comes in. These are very conservative. You're going to see higher numbers elsewhere. Certainly we got other models that are showing much more snow than this. But because of those uncertainties, I tend to be very, very conservative on my snowfall forecasting. It's just how I prefer to do it. Winter weather impacts, it's going to be major impacts for most of the tri-state. Maybe up in the northwest, slightly less, but I don't think it's really going to matter either way. So we're talking major. What about extreme impacts? What if we get some of those amounts that go over a foot? Then I would tend to paint some purple on the map. Right now, I haven't done that. We don't have a lot of confidence in that so far. But I would say there is probably a 20% chance that the impacts in some areas could go to the purple level, the extreme level. So, a lot to watch, a lot to keep track of here. But the bottom line is we're going to see extremely difficult travel conditions from Saturday night through Sunday, and probably lingering problems into Monday in some areas, residential streets. If you get that much snow, there's going to be problems into Tuesday even. So this is a big time storm system. It's going to have some big impacts on the tri-state, and somebody certainly could see a foot of snow out of this, no doubt about that. So we'll continue to keep you updated. I'll be getting new data in this evening, looking at everything. We're on Star 64 at 10 o'clock. We're on Local 12 News at 11 o'clock tonight. And, of course, we'll be in tomorrow, continuing to fine-tune everything and update it as we go along here. But the bottom line is big storm, major impacts for the tri-state and much of the country this coming weekend, guys. So stay safe. Again, get everything done if you can by early Saturday afternoon, and we'll hope we get on the lower end of this one, so it's not as crippling of a snow. But I mean, when you start talking about amounts up around a foot, that's just kind of a crippling snowfall for this area, and very difficult for us to deal with here in the Ohio Valley with our resources. We are planning extra coverage for you this weekend, though, too. So we will be streaming, we'll be online, we'll be on TV. You'll see us everywhere, and we'll, of course, continue to keep you guys updated. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to go catch some dinner.